nothing as good as gold.
From deep in the earth it comes, and deep in the earth it is stored, protected and cherished like a god, a universal measure of value and medium of exchange. At an international depository, transfer from one nation's compartment to another's pays for oil, perhaps, or wheat, rockets, or bombs. With it, we anoint our heroes. Gold is supreme, a symbol of achievement, a synonym for success.
Hi, Ronnie. Huh? Well, I got a mantle at home.
Gold, noble gold, voluptuous gold, fashioned into exquisite works of art to please the eye and feed the vanity of potentates, emperors, and kings. Gold, conductive, reflective, incorruptible gold, opening exciting new vistas in countless technologies. The guidance systems that send men into space rely on gold, and so do the astronaut's lifeline, coated with gold to reflect heat, and his visor, gold-shaded to protect his eyes. We embark now on a journey around the world exploring the fact and fancy of gold. Sacred, profane, tantalizing gold. To many Americans, the word gold immediately brings to mind Fort Knox. The granite fortress near Louisville, Kentucky is one of the most heavily guarded places on earth. Rarely has the inside been photographed, and then only under severe restrictions. The main vault door, weighing more than 20 tons, is but the first of a series of interlocking security measures guarding the U.S. government's biggest hoard of gold. Here, we Americans long believed, rests the stuff that made the dollar as good as gold. Once upon a time, the dollar was as good as gold. The United States and most other countries minted gold coins. Paper money was a promise to pay in gold. But today, the dollar and most other world currencies are supported not by gold, but by credit. Paper backed by paper. The experience of Germany in the early 1920s is the classic horror story told by those who urge a return to the gold standard as the best way to stop inflation and stabilize economies. As prices rose, the government printed more and more currency, and prices soared again. Eventually, the German mark literally was not worth the paper it was printed on. Bundles of paper money were needed to buy a loaf of bread, and a postage stamp cost millions. Nowhere are things that bad today, although modern Italy is often cited as an example of inflation run wild. Once a single lira had value. You could buy something with it. Until the Second World War, 1 lira was worth about a nickel. In 1978, just over 1/10 of 1 cent. In Italy today, virtually everything is priced in hundreds, even thousands. And 10,000 lira notes are as common as $10 bills in America.
Ich möchte gerne eine Goldware, bitte. Ja. 10 Gramm. 10 Gramm. Ja. 120 francs.
Europeans have long put their faith and part of their savings in gold. Even in a country as rich and economically stable as Switzerland, it is common practice to buy small gold bars as birthday or Christmas gifts, especially for young children.
Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen.
In France, crippling cycles of inflation and devaluation have eroded faith in paper money. It's said that nearly every French family has some gold stashed away in the cellar or in a mattress, most of it in coins. The total hoard estimated at 15% of all the privately held gold in the world. President Giscard d'Estaing once called a Frenchman's feeling for gold a penchant for unpleasant memories, an expression of distrust. In the United States, gold hoarders are relatively few, but the number is growing. They tend to see gold as essential to personal security in times of inflation, monetary fluctuation, and social and political change.
I think the reason that I have started buying gold coins is because what I see happening to the currency right now greatly disturbs me. In times of trouble, which I think we're approaching, gold has always held its value. I like to have some around. I mean, it's nice for jewelry, it's nice to have, and I sort of look at it like insurance money, because gold is an investment that you make for long term, I think. And in the long term, gold has increased tremendously.
From deep within the sun, the gods took gold and gave it to man. That was the belief of ancient man who worked gold probably before any other metal. Since the dawn of history, civilizations rose, flourished, and died, leaving behind classics of the goldsmith's art. Four centuries before Christ, the Greek poet Pindar wrote, "Gold is a child of Zeus. Neither moth nor rust devoureth it, but the mind of man is devoured by this supreme possession." So powerful is gold's grip on man's emotions that it has been an object as well as an instrument of religion. Down through the ages and all over the world, gold has been an essential part of the ritual with which man worships his idols and gods. The Bible mentions gold more than 400 times. The first in the book of Genesis, which speaks of a land near the Garden of Eden, a land where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Gold cannot tarnish or corrode, and because it lasts forever, men have long associated it with eternal life. Because it can be melted down and reused, it's possible that the gold on your finger once decorated King Solomon's temple, or was carried by the wise men to Bethlehem. Johannesburg, South Africa. Huge mounds 200 feet high attest to a city built on gold. They're composed entirely of waste rock from worn-out gold mines. South Africa currently produces about half of the world's gold, and in the heart of Johannesburg, a heroic statue honors the men who wrest it from the earth. Most of the mine workers are migrants from various parts of southern Africa. Some 50 different tribes are represented, each speaking its own language or dialect. Newcomers must learn a common language, Fonokolo, created especially for the mines. Mainly illiterate peasants, the men must learn even the most basic tools and industrial techniques. Only recently have black workers been given some opportunity to learn advanced skills and to handle machinery. A brand new complex at Harmony Mine is a showcase for workers' housing. Mining companies provide lodging, food, and medical care as part of the workers' contract. At one time, most migrants signed on and were away from home for 2 years. Now it may be as short as 6 months. 52-year-old Malaya Lea Motene has put in a total of 10 years since 1945. He leaves home, where he owns a plot of land and some cattle, to earn money to send his 3 children to school. He has had no education. Motene shares a room with 7 other men. Every 2 rooms share a small sitting area. Among South Africa's blacks, mine workers are relatively well paid. Motene gets close to $5 a day, plus a drilling bonus of about $46 a month. The men work 8 hours a day, with 3 days off every 2 weeks. South Africa's gold lies deep in the earth, down to 2 miles or more. In such dangerous environments, safety precautions are rigid, and the death rate is relatively low compared with deep mines in other countries. But still, underground accidents take 400 lives a year. Whites in the mines are career men, skilled workers, technicians, engineers, 1 for about every 9 blacks. The white miners have a strong union and make about 7 times the pay of blacks. They may live with their families in comfortable houses subsidized by the companies. The working face is usually just over 3 feet high, with the actual strip of gold-bearing rock only inches wide. Taking out enough rock to give the men room to stand would be uneconomic. To the uninitiated visitor, it is like a trip to hell. South Africa's mines are the biggest in the world. In less than 100 years, they've produced 40% of all the gold ever discovered. But gold is rare. So rare that all of it, ever mined anywhere, would make a cube about 54 feet a side and weigh some 88,000 tons. Current production in South Africa is about 700 tons a year. For every ton of gold, 100,000 tons of rock must be blasted out and hauled to the surface. Or another way of looking at it, more than 6,000 pounds of rock to get 1 ounce of gold, an amount about the size of your fingertip. Extracting gold from rock is expensive and complex. Each mine has its own reduction plant where the rock is crushed, mixed with water, and crushed again to the consistency of face powder. Addition of cyanide releases the gold from the rock. Several steps later lead to a smelter where a fiery cascade yields crude ingots of about 88% gold. Utmost secrecy cloaks all shipments of gold. Security measures are never divulged. We know that gold from all the mines arrives by armored truck at the Rand refinery outside Johannesburg at irregular times. So strict are security measures that a major theft has never been reported. Repeated weighing and checking enable the refinery to account for every bit of gold at any given time during the 4-day process required to remove silver and other metals from the crude ingots. The final step pours the world standard, the so-called good delivery bar. 400 troy ounces, or 12.5 kilograms, or 27.5 pounds of gold. At least 99.6% pure. Zurich, Switzerland, keystone of the international gold trade. In secret shipments, gold arrives by air from South Africa and the Soviet Union, second largest gold-producing nation. Much of it will ship out again, a large measure to the Middle East, which has become a major consumer of gold in recent years. Unmarked trucks or heavily armored vehicles transport shipments between the airport and the 3 Swiss banks that handle most of the trade. Deep beneath street level, our camera team pledged not to reveal how deep, a shipment arrives at one of the major banks, this one from the Soviet Union. Individually numbered bars are checked in, 400 in all, each worth about $80,000. Total value, more than $30 million. Not all gold remains in this form of good delivery bars. They're too heavy to move easily and are used mainly by central banks for trading between nations and for reserve. Before it is actually put to use, much of the gold will be melted down and recast into a variety of smaller sized bars, more convenient to transport and trade.
21,600. Gut. 22,800.
Some gold leaves Switzerland in surprisingly prosaic ways. In an ordinary briefcase, for example. All one has to do is arrange for the purchase at a bank, pay cash, and pick it up. It's all completely legal in Switzerland. That the gold may be headed for some place where it is illegal is of no concern to the Swiss. Business is business, and Swiss bankers are noted for their discretion. The courier's destination could be any one of dozens of countries. His mission, to evade laws restricting or taxing the importation of gold. Or he might be serving completely legitimate ends, avoidance of high air freight and insurance rates. Couriers are often considered cheaper and more secure than other means.
Please proceed to gate B22. Attention s'il vous plaît, tous les passagers du vol Swissair 682 à destination de Genève et Malaga sont priés de se rendre à la sortie B22.
Whether a smuggler by trade or bonded messenger, the courier must be unremarkable in appearance. He blends in easily with other travelers and disappears. He will clear his merchandise with Swiss customs and probably will be extended the courtesy of a security check safely removed from public view. Another starting point in international gold smuggling is on the Persian Gulf at Dubai, made busy and rich by gold and the Middle East oil boom. A shipment has arrived from a refinery in England. 10 tola bars. A tola is a unit of weight used mainly in India, where importation of gold is illegal. Through the back streets and narrow alleyways of Dubai, connections are made, money and goods exchanged, and plans put into effect. Everything that goes on is legal and proper business in Dubai, but the result will be violation of another country's laws. Near the waterfront, the 10 tola bars are transferred into a canvas vest. Worth $750 each on the open market, they will bring a much higher price when they reach their final destination. For centuries, from Dubai's harbor, Arab dhows have sailed across the Arabian Sea to India. In the hustle of a wide open port, it is easy for a vest full of gold to come aboard in a sailor's duffel. The dhow will be off the coast of India in a few days. Nowhere is demand and reverence for gold as great as in India, a result of 5,000 years of Hindu tradition. Despite the nation's poverty, an estimated $32 billion worth of gold is in private hands, most of it jewelry. Nearly all of the country's goldsmiths are born into the craft. Despite primitive tools and dark, poorly ventilated shops, craftsmanship is outstanding. With importation of gold illegal, the official pretense is that almost all the jewelry manufactured in India is made with gold that has been remelted. In the Zaveri Bazaar, center of Bombay's bustling gold trade, gold is bought and sold by weight. Government-sanctioned assayers help judge purity by the color of mark left on a touchstone. The method is at least 3,000 years old. To Indians, gold is more than mere ornamentation. Symbolic of the Hindu goddess of wealth, gold is hoarded in almost every household. Wearing it brings prosperity and luck. No matter how poor they may be, almost all Indian women own some gold. It's called widow's insurance because a woman may not inherit her husband's property. Even those living and working in the most wretched conditions own some gold and wear it always with no fear that they will be robbed. It is one of India's many paradoxes that women are so respected that robbers will not molest them. India's governments have tried for years to crack down on gold and eliminate hoarding, even taking the position that buying gold is treason. But mere laws cannot suppress the Indian passion for gold and belief that gold is sacred and close to the gods. At a Hindu wedding, the dressing of the bride is a ritual steeped in tradition, economics, and superstition. To give the bride some protection in the event of her husband's death, she receives a dowry of gold jewelry. Her family may have been buying her gold trinkets since she was born in preparation for this day. And at her wedding, she will wear all the gold she owns. For tradition holds that the wealth a woman wears on her wedding day is her property and hers alone through life. It cannot be confiscated and will be her hedge against hard times. And another value, in some eyes the greatest, gold promotes fertility. Arezzo, Italy, an ancient city in the Tuscan hills north of Rome. This was the land of the Etruscans, a mysterious civilization that created masterpieces of gold 6 centuries before Christ. In Arezzo today, the people are proud of their Etruscan heritage, and many homes contain workshops producing gold jewelry by tedious handwork. Much of the gold jewelry produced in Europe is 18 karat. That's 75% gold. The remainder might be silver or copper or other metals. 14 karat, popular in the United States, is just over 58% gold. Pure gold, 24 karat, is almost never made into jewelry. It's too soft and would not wear well. Among the most respected men in Arezzo is Carlo Badi, sculptor, designer, and teacher, whose work has been shown at international exhibitions. He's been a professional artist since he was 18. Working in gold, he says, gives me aesthetic results that nothing else can. Working with it, seeing it change in my hands, gives me a feeling of love for the things I make. And so I make every piece unique, whether sculpture or high-fashion jewelry. Badi's pupil, 21-year-old Dini Stefano, uses the word passion to describe how he feels about goldsmithing. Until he can fulfill his dream of becoming an independent artist like his teacher, Stefano works as a model maker, giving dimension to the drawings of designers at the world's largest gold jewelry factory. Located on the outskirts of Arezzo, the Gori and Zucchi factory is the largest single consumer of gold in all the world. Some 60 tons a year, more than the entire jewelry industries of Britain, France, and Switzerland combined. The firm designed and built its own automatic machines that churn out gold chain by the mile. Looking like a sorcerer's magic brew, a process developed by Hanovia Liquid Gold in New Jersey enables gold to be used in minute amounts in electronics and in various forms of packaging. For only a few pennies per unit, liquid gold, a solution of gold chloride and oil, decorates cosmetic bottles and other disposable containers. Most of us, without knowing it, have bought and thrown away real gold. One characteristic that sets gold apart from all other metals is its malleability. It can be pounded, stretched, and drawn again and again and still retain its qualities. In the making of gold leaf, a 14.5-ounce bar is transformed into a shimmering ribbon over 100 feet long. But that's merely the beginning of an ancient process still employed at a factory near Paris. Cut into small squares and packed between layers of sheepskin, the gold is pounded by hand for 5 hours. The hammers weigh nearly 8 pounds. That one small bar of gold will become thin enough to cover about 1,500 square feet. So thin that a mere breath positions it for packaging. Each leaf 1,000 times thinner than a sheet of paper. Perhaps the most unusual use of gold leaf has been created at a restaurant, Au Petit Montmorency in Paris. A chocolate and meringue cake covered with 24-karat gold, served with pistachio ice cream and a thick brandy sauce, for 30 francs a portion, about $7. The gold adds nothing to taste or nutrition, but it's harmless, looks nice, and has no calories. Because it cannot oxidize and evenly diffuses heat, pure gold would make excellent cooking ware. Engelhard Industries made a solid gold frying pan to be tested in her Massachusetts home by television's French chef Julia Child. Worth about $18,000, the 6-pound pan was returned to Engelhard for resmelting immediately after filming.
It's a two-hander. I'm making a supreme double-eyed poil d'or en piperade, or chicken breast sautéed in a golden pan with a pepper sauce, a green pepper sauce. I must say, I think this pan cooks very nicely. It's awfully heavy, though. I'm trying to lift it with one hand, but it cooks well. They cook very, very quickly. I'm now going to put the piperade back on and put in just a little bit of dry white strips removed. Let it flame. That's just about done. Doesn't that look nice?
In the shape of the legendary Phoenix, a 22-karat bathtub weighing 313 pounds is probably the world's heaviest single gold object. It's valued at over $1.5 million. The tub attracts visitors from all over Japan to the Funabara Hotel on the Izu Peninsula. A 5-minute dip costs $15, but it's claimed that every minute spent in the tub adds a year to one's life. Along New York's Fifth Avenue and other posh boulevards around the world, shops with famous names set the pace for the jewelry business, which consumes 2/3 of current gold production. In the world of high fashion, there's little call for mass-produced items. Both Cartier and Tiffany feature exclusive designs created in their own workshops. They exude an aura of luxury, appealing to those whose wealth matches a need for self-adornment.
You can try it on. It's very nice. Yeah.
Well, this is a 22-karat mesh scarf that Elsa Peretti designed for her collection.
Can we take this off?
Oh, of course. It's beautiful. This is the biggest selling point. It's the handling of the piece.
It's just shimmering and lovely. Really super.
It almost feels like a fabric, doesn't it?
How much does it cost?
This is $2,500.
Gold, gold, nothing like gold, nothing as good as gold, nothing as good as gold.
By centuries-old tradition, London has been the center of international gold trade. More gold may now pass through rival Zurich, but there remains about London an unmistakably British aura that seems to say, we were here first. Twice daily, representatives of the 5 banking concerns that comprise the London gold market conduct a ritual affecting investors, speculators, and governments around the world. By direct line to their company's trading rooms, they try to fix a price by matching up orders to buy or sell.
Matty wants 30.
Matty wants 30.
New electronic developments make possible direct and instantaneous communication with customers and traders around the world. If more gold is offered for sale than buyers want, the price goes down. The reverse, and the price goes up.
Have you got 3 like Zurich then? Yeah, try.
Mag hem 70 of zo.
Actual trading in gold goes on around the clock. A composite day begins in the boisterous exchange in Hong Kong. Following the sun, it will continue in Europe and end in the United States. With recent emergence of Hong Kong as a major center, the sun never sets on trading in gold.
Rothschild's 155.
Rothschild's 155. Montague's offer 120.
Montague offer 120. The market therefore goes
Nene roba. Sur talate. What's going on in gold and silver now, please?
亂晒龍啦！我而家都唔知佢點搞嚇。
Now you'll be a key, please.
Pour le kilo 40. Sur 235. 233. 49. 218. Au kilo 585. Kilo 590. On a 10, faites de la 10. De la 10, 10.
Parce que même l'UL, ils sont venus à 220,80 après le...
Matty, a seller.
Matty, a seller. Montague, nothing.
Catcher a buyer.
Catcher a buyer.
Can you hear me?
Ah, capito.
This is Rothschild in London.
Quando lei ha qualche cosa a fare, mi dà un...
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Nothing there. Thank you very much indeed. I can offer you 5 hard coins.
Okay, that's done. Fine.
Nothing there.
10 bars of 15 from Robert.
Ball 70 ce matin.
Sharps off at 25. Sharps off at 25.
Matty wants 30.
Matty wants 30. We try 160, 80.
160, 80.
Nothing there. I'm 6 at 640. 1.5, 2.5. Only have 2 bars. Only have 32. 2 bars. Show you 10. 5. 8 bob in. Show me 1,700. 3.5. 8.5. That's over 30.
We are in balance. We fix at 160.
News of the London price fixing flashes around the world at the speed of light. But some places are slow to get the word. Barbacoas in the southwest corner of Colombia has no newspapers, no radio or television stations. When a new gold price is telegraphed in from Bogota, the town crier takes to the streets.
Señora alcaldesa municipal, apreciada señora, por medio de su himno conducto, nos place informar a los mineros de esta jurisdicción que subió el precio del oro. Grano 34.21, gramo 190.06, onza 5.464.23.
Barbacoas is situated on the Telembi River, where once commercial gold operations thrived. Now the dredges are gone. There's not sufficient gold left to make it a paying proposition for the big companies, but enough remains to be important to the poor people of the region. Families that barely manage to eke out a living by farming try to improve their lot through gold. With the riverbanks all played out, they must trudge through dense jungle in search of places where gold might be found. Pedro Pablo Cortez has found such a place. For nearly 2 years, on and off, he worked to divert a stream so that he would have flowing water where he needed it for mining. With a machete as his only tool, he built a tree bark flume nearly 1 mile long. When he wants to try for gold, he and his family and friends make the connections to send water from the distant stream down to Cortez's special place.
Nubia, tráigame el almocabre.
This is not a communal effort. Cortez pays his workers a flat wage, about $2 a day, and he will keep all the gold they may find. Gold rarely comes easily. In wooden pans, they wash the soil again and again, rinsing away the lighter particles in hope of uncovering a few heavy grains of gold. Cortez lives in primitive isolation, a day's journey by canoe from Barbacoas. In his jungle clearing, he sold the gold found this day to a foreign visitor. Later, the buyer weighed the gold and checked the price. Cortez had charged within pennies of that day's price as fixed in London. Gold was sacred in the Indian cultures that flourished before the Europeans invaded South America. One legend tells of sacrificing precious stones and gold to a sacred lake, how each year an Indian chief anointed his body with oil, covered himself with gold dust, and dove from a raft into the waters, washing the gold from his skin. From this religious rite sprang the legend of El Dorado, for the Spaniards heard of it soon after they landed. For 3 centuries, their plunder and conquest were spurred by fantasies of a man made of gold and a lake filled with gold and jewels. Today, in remote mountain regions of Colombia, Guillermo Cano seeks to unearth and preserve golden treasures of ancient Indian civilizations. As a boy, Cano saw his father and grandfather search for gold and other valuables that Indians buried with their dead, perhaps 1,000 years ago. Now owner of galleries that make and sell reproductions of pre-Columbian artwork, Cano calls himself a 3rd-generation Huaquero, grave digger, and he continues the search. Every month, he drives through the mountains buying gold from newly discovered graves.
No. 3 o 4 gramos. Bueno, siga guaqueando. $1,000 poca alimentación. El trabajo muy duro. Y... En el otro juego le doy desquite. Ya, don Guillermo, ya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Many Huaqueros remember Cano's father, and their dealings reflect mutual warmth and respect. Cano says, more than friends, we are like brothers, people who are ready to do anything for each other. They deliver to me whatever they have, trusting absolutely in me, and I do the same with them.
¿Cuándo viene Bernardo? Bernardo viene hoy. ¿Y Luis Alfonso? Pues él dijo que se lo daba $1,000 el gramo. ¿Cuántos gramos?
Most Huacaros are farmers seeking extra income, to buy a car perhaps, or send a child to school. Only a few have ever found enough treasure to become wealthy. Although digging up Indian graves is illegal, the law is almost never enforced, to the despair of archaeologists. In fact, the government licenses a labor union for Huacaros. Experience and legend indicate the general area where graves might be found. Actual location is pinpointed by taking soil samples. Color and texture of the earth, 1 to 2 feet below the surface, tell the experienced Huacaro whether the soil was ever disturbed, even after 5 centuries or more. Although he never knows how far he'll have to dig, or what he might find, if anything, the Huacaro, according to Guillermo Cano, is spiritually very happy. He lives by hope. He's always searching for something new. He's a man of discovery, always seeking an unknown reality which might be very beautiful, very valuable. Taking turns with the shovel, they will dig this day for 5 hours. Some 15 feet down, they encounter the main burial chamber, nearly filled with water.
Tiene una, dos, tres, y geme de agua.
Cano is called. Although with his father and grandfather he's opened hundreds of graves, he sees each one as a new adventure. Filled with emotion, he takes the first look at a site that's been hidden from human eyes for perhaps 1,000 years. Cano says, you're always keyed up when you're opening a huaca. And after you see it, especially in such good condition, preserved by the water, there's a new surge of emotion, a greater passion in discovery. It's something undying. It's in your blood. Many Huacaros take a more practical view of their trade. For them, there is always the possibility of finding the grave of an Indian chief or priest, someone who would have been buried with large gold ornaments. One such piece could bring enough money to support a family for years.
Bonita.
This is a frustrating day for Cano and the others. Along with a few clay pots, only 2 small pieces of gold will be found because water keeps pouring into the burial chamber. Sad and reluctant, they will fill in the hole and call it a day.
Aquí tenemos uno de los trabajos más extraordinarios del indio, que fue la elaboración de estas pequeñas cuentas de collar. Es increíble.
To Guillermo Cano, the greatest challenge is trying to learn how the Indians worked their magic with gold.
Porque para hacer estas pequeñas cuentas de collar hoy día en oro, pues es muy difícil. Es difícil ahora y es más difícil.
Even with the most modern machinery, his workshops cannot duplicate some of the old creations. He asks, how did the Indians melt the gold? How did they centrifuge it? And he goes on. The art, the precision used by the Indians in working these pieces is still an enigma. When I look at this extraordinary work, I feel deeply moved, and I am baffled. We don't know what did really happen throughout all those years, and yet we now can find these art treasures still wrapped in the mystery of how their creators were able to produce them.
Cera perdida, lo mismo que esta nariguera.
Over the years, Cano and his father have sold nearly 200 pounds of gold artwork to the Gold Museum in Bogota, where a proud nation displays the glories of the various Indian cultures that flourished before the Spanish invasion. Although the museum's collection seems vast, most of the Indian gold is gone. By 1550, more than 500,000 pounds had been shipped from the Americas to Spain. Masterpieces had been melted down to pay the debts of a bankrupt monarchy. England's Ben Jonson wrote, "That for which all virtue now is sold, and almost every vice, almighty gold." Gold, noble gold, royal gold, fashioned to please the eye and feed the vanity of emperors and kings. Epitome of the goldsmith's art, Benvenuto Cellini's salt cellar, just 10 inches high, chiseled out of solid gold. Gold, symbol of power, of divinity, of immortality. Gold, debasing gold, root of greed, lust, corruption. The duality compounds the mystique, and man's fascination remains, like gold itself, eternal.